Hello everybody. Our paper is about a new algorithm to deal with balanced splitting cycle in complete triangulation. In a surface of genus at least 2, you can have cycles that are both non-contractible and separating. We call such a cycle a splitting cycle. Now, if you cut along a splitting cycle, you will obtain two surfaces with one boundary that are not homeomorphic to disk. Then, in a continuous setting, it's pretty clear that if you have a surface of genus at least 2, you will always find a splitting cycle. But in a discrete setting, it's more complicated because by cycle we mean a simple closed walk, where simple is for no repeated vertices. And then, having only a cellularly embedded graph is not sufficient to be sure that you will have a splitting cycle. Actually, Barnett's conjecture that adding the fact that the graph is a triangulation is sufficient to obtain a splitting cycle in every graph. But that's only proved for genus 2 surfaces. And the proof is quite technical, or you can also have a computer assisted proof, but actually we don't really understand what happens. Okay, so we will look at a slightly more precise problem. So, speaking of splitting cycles, there are different topologic types. It means that if you take, for instance, a surface of genus 4, here you have two red cycles that are topologically equivalent in the sense that they cut the surface into one piece of genus 1 and one piece of genus 3. But the blue one is really different because it cuts the surface into two pieces of balanced genus, and that's why we call it a balanced splitting cycle. In a previous paper, I show with Francis Lazarus that there exists triangulation of surfaces of genus at least 2 without balanced splitting cycle. To be precise, we find triangulation of complete graphs that does not have balanced splitting cycle. But actually, we only have a computer-assisted proof, and it's pretty hard to understand what happens in particular because triangulation of complete graphs are quite difficult to represent. And in fact, we use the embeddings originally given by Ringel and Youngs, and there's a very huge number of different embeddings of the complete graphs, and it's complicated to understand if what we shown what was related to Ringel and Youngs embedding, if it's or not, what happened really is really not clear. So here we will try to go a bit deeper in the computations to see what happens. So to be able to make some randomized algorithm, we have first to understand what was the most efficient algorithm known before. So the idea is the following. If you have a small path that you want to be part of a splitting cycle, then it induces partial coloring of the edges, because since the splitting cycle at the end is supposed to separate the surface into two parts, then you can color red the edges that you show on the left of your small path and blue those that you see on the right. And now, if you look at the other vertices, you can have patterns that make you sure that this small path cannot be in any splitting cycle. We have two examples there. If you have one blue and one red that are just next one to the other, then you will never be able to separate them because you don't have any edge in between. And more generally, if you have a pattern blue red around the vertex, then you're sure that you won't be able to separate correctly the blue and the red. Okay, so that was the idea of the original algorithm. So we want to have some randomized version of this. Okay, so the first thing that we need is a way to speak of approximation of splitting cycle. So what will be an approximation for us? It's coloring red, blue, and undefined RBU, such that you don't have impossible pattern red, blue, and each vertex of the graph is sufficiently well colored in the sense that you don't have a part bigger than epsilon times n that has no colored edge. Okay, if you have those two things, we say that we have an epsilon cycle that may be an approximation of a splitting cycle. Then to be an approximation of a splitting cycle, you have to be included in some sense in a splitting cycle, meaning that if you have a splitting cycle cutting the surface into a red part and a blue part, then your approximation will have its red part included in the red part of the actual splitting cycle, and the same hold for the blue part. Okay, now what is very interesting is that we can prove that with a randomized algorithm we can find a set of epsilon cycles that covers every possible splitting cycles, and this x does only depends on epsilon. And it's very interesting because you know that you just have to see is one of this epsilon cycle possibly extended to a splitting cycle. And the corollary of this is that if you have a complete triangulation that is very far to have a balanced splitting cycle, you will be able to show it with a randomized algorithm. The idea is if your triangulation has a balanced splitting cycle or is close to it, you won't be able to prove anything. But if you're far away, you will be able to prove that there is no admissible epsilon cycles that can be extended to a splitting cycle. So what it gives in practice, we won't calculate this X set because it's too complicated. It may take very long time and it's not what we want to do. So we will do something slightly different. If you take a vertex, any vertex in your complete graph, then what you have is if you take a partition of all the edges that are incident to your vertex into 3 parts, then you know that any splitting cycle will be able to reach at most 2 parts. So you know that one of the 3 parts of the incident edges will be all red or all blue. So for a given vertex, you will have one of those 6 configurations that will have to appear in any splitting cycle. Okay, so now we will pick at random some vertices and try to see if we can take one combination of all of this pattern and obtain something that is correct. So how we can see that that some partial configuration is not correct? Let's say we have taken 6 random vertices and we try all the possible configuration on those 6 vertices. We have one there, red, blue, red, with some special parts colored. And then we look at all the other vertices of the graph. And here then we can maybe find some vertex where we have a pattern red, blue. If it's the case, then we know that this pattern will never be in some correct epsilon cycle. Okay, so now we need something more, because we will have configuration with only one color. So we need some argument to say, okay, this pattern is not correct and it won't be a red, blue. So what we can do? Here, for instance, let's take one other vertex that has these 6 red edges. And now what we can say is that if I have a correct splitting cycle somewhere, then the most possible blue edges that I can have is the biggest interval between 2 red edges. And then the thing is, if you want a balanced splitting cycle, you will need to have a lot of blues. You will need a lot of red and a lot of blues in order to have half of the genus in each side. So if you have all your vertices colored red, then you will eventually be able to show that you don't have sufficiently many potential blue edges to have a balanced splitting cycle. So here you see that the balanced property is really critical. We will never be able to show that there is no splitting cycle 1G-1 with this ID. Okay, so now what we do, we just pick at random a set of vertices and check all the possible configuration for the cutting of each neighborhood into 3 parts and each assignment of blue and red. And we look if something works or not. And if we are able to show that all the configuration are not correct, then it proves that we cannot have a balanced splitting cycle because we even cannot find an epsilon cycle that can eventually be extended to a balanced splitting cycle. So now, is this efficient in practice? So we have this search tree, which is the tree of all the configurations that we have for our randomly chosen vertices. So you see that this T is quite critical, and it does not depend on the size of the complete graph on this example. Actually, the result shows that this T is pretty wild, but it doesn't really increase with the size of the graph. It's more erratic. And then the computation is really efficient most of the time. We will see just after that it's not as constant as we can hope. And we can see that when everything goes well, we are able to prove that a very big complete graph with 22,000 vertices, for instance, cannot have a balanced splitting cycle, which is pretty nice. But actually, we realize that it's really not easy to understand what happens. Because here you can see that if you take some consecutive numbers, then you have very not smooth results, and we have no clue of the reason why it's like that. And I think that this new algorithm gives a new eye on the thing, saying that there's something that is really difficult because you have a very dense triangulation and it's hard to have a balanced thing in this setting. But there's something that depends really on the exact embedding, and that's really hard to catch. So I hope that someone will come with some explication for all of this, but before that we have this algorithm to play with and try to see more things and see what happens. So thank you for listening.